Epic Gaming Night is made possible by the support of patrons like you. Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night podcast, a podcast about the stories and relationships board games create. I'm your host, Roy. With me, as always, is Matt.
Hi.
And
hey, hi.
And Rob.
Ho-hee. Ho-hee.
I don't even know what's going on right now. Are you guys the Seven Dwarves?
Like random things from anime. I'll just be like, koi koi. People are like, oh, good.
Loving it.
Before people that understand that, it's like, oh, good, thank you.
You should just learn hi in like a whole bunch of different languages and then say a different language each week.
I could, yeah, that'd be pretty straightforward.
Awesome.
Until
actually,
last week, where like chat's like entirely in Spanish, and I'm like, I can vaguely catch some of this.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Woo!
We do stream these live on YouTube on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. So if you ever want to join us in chat us up a little bit while we're recording these. We interact with those guys a little bit too, so that's a lot of fun. Rob and Matt are always typing back and forth with everybody. But this week we're going to be talking about the first games for all sorts of different things, whether it be first games to teach new players or the first games we played in different things.
Oh my gosh, Tim is already going. Just
tell him no advertising in the chat.
Oh,
I know
man.
what he's doing and I'm not even looking at it.
And that cool minute not fanboy though.
I know, right?
He loves everything.
But first, we're going to talk about the news. So one of the first things I want to talk about in the news is we probably should have talked about this a little bit while the Kickstarter was going on, since Matt was a backer. But I want to talk about Dogmite Studios. They make different game tray things or game like organizers, but they're like organizers for when you put them on the table. So they have like places for you to put your tokens. And the really cool thing is a lot of their stuff is all magnetic. So you get this really like satisfying clip as you like put them together in different formations. And me and Rob have been using them for like Rune Wars. I used them when we played some Raxon just to like organize the different counters and stuff like that. So you can get these different trays that organize counters in all sorts of different ways. And they also sent us some like D&D stuff that can organize your dice and deck boxes. If you're looking for different stuff to contain your components or to put your components on the table and look really nice, make sure to check out Dogmite. I know you guys both got to mess around with that stuff while you were over here. What were your guys' thoughts?
I'll let Matt go first.
Well, see, I like it just because with the magnetic stuff, it's modular. So one of the things that they were touting during the Kickstarter is that for games that use a lot of cubes or chits or all the little widgets and cards or whatnot, you can basically and effectively set up a small board, if you will, for like your whole thing without having to like have like huge expenditures and like specific plastics for certain games. And I was like, oh, this is really swell and stellar.
Yeah,
they have a wide variety of woods. I know they were running a sale on their website for a bunch of extra stuff that they had before the move, so I don't know if that's still going on.
I think it's cool because when you order them, you can order like all sorts of different styles of, because they're all like little squares. So they're squares that magnetically like clip together, and you can pick the squares that you want depending on like what you think you'll use most. You can use ones that'll just like fit random components, or you can use ones that'll like specifically like hold up cards and like specific things. So I think they're pretty solid, and they're all handmade, I think. So, or at least they use like stuff in a shop to make them.
Those are not cheap magnets.
Oh yeah.
No, they're very strong.
Those magnets are very strong.
That dice case, man, that thing takes some effort to open.
Oh yeah.
It cut me, man. I don't know if you can see, because it's been a little bit now, but my pointer finger on my left hand, I was like, oh man, let me check this out. First of all, how to do like strongman pickle jar twist to get it off. And when I tried to put it back, I was like, okay, this is not so bad. When I tried to put it back, boom, it just snapped down. Cut my finger, drew blood.
Gotta be a little careful, but I mean, on the upside, you know your dice aren't going anywhere. So
Dogmite Studios is not for the faint of heart. You have to be hardcore gamer to be able to get this stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Rob, you failed.
No, I got it in there, and I kept playing. I didn't fail. I just it drew blood. I was about to cast a spell on it or something. I don't know if it was real, like Harry Potter, like that one book that eats things and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Awesome.
I don't remember that part.
remember, it's like in the second one or first one when he's going to buy his books, and there's the one about like the wild animals, and
yeah.
and it's like
I
it's got
gotcha.
teeth around it, and it's just going around chomping stuff, and
Yeah.
Hagrid's just like, "Hey, Harry, you got to be careful," and he's like, "Ah." Yeah.
Awesome. Well, the next thing on our list here is Numeral Legends is a kids game that I did a review for one of the games, the Gluttony Dragon, and I got to play all three of these games with my kids. They're beautiful kids games that are aimed at teaching kids like simple math, but they're just like really fun little games to play with kids. I actually got to play the Gluttony Dragon with Steve Avery and Emerson Matsuchi also when we were at Dice Tower Con, and Jake from Draft Mechanic, and had a lot of fun with them playing this silly kids game. And I also let Rob borrow the games, and he got to play as well. And these games are currently on Kickstarter. Which games did you get to play, Rob?
We just played the first one. We just played Numeracy.
The Rainbow Unicorn or whatever is the first one.
The Rainbow Unicorn, we're getting the ingredients and stuff.
Yeah, so there's 3 different games in this line, and you can either, on the Kickstarter, you can buy them all together, or you can buy them separately. But the first one is you are gathering ingredients to take to the Rainbow Unicorn to create cupcakes. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and Rob has she's getting close to 5, right? She's 5 in a few months. So yeah, we both have young daughters, so this like fits right in line with their likes. But it's basically just like a like game where you're trying to collect different like modes of transportation. It kind of reminds me of Ticket to Ride a little bit. Like you're trying to grab the different things to be able to move along to get the things you need, but you're having to grab like set collection with these things to be able to move your character along the board. The second one is a cupcake game where you're trying to sort of press your luck a little bit, but also try to reason like how likely it is for bad things to happen. You start with a bunch of cupcakes, and as you go along, you lose cupcakes, and you're trying to be the first person to get to the end without running out of cupcakes. A fun little game. And then the Gluttony Dragon is a 1 versus many kids game. It's my favorite out of the bunch because you actually get to like fight off the dragon, and it's fun to be the dragon and have my kids attack Dad, who's the Gluttony Dragon. And it's like this rock paper scissors mechanic of like trying to attack each other back and forth, and you get weapon upgrades, and it's silly things like a meat shield or a bubble tea attack weapon where you're shooting out the bubbles of the bubble tea. But then it also has like wizards hats and swords and things like that too. So
I think my favorite thing about the games is not even the game concept, but the art. And here's what I mean, Matt. So in the very first game, there's I think it's a cat creature, right? It is a cat with the green cape.
Yeah.
Right. So So these are kid games, grant you, right? So in the very first game, the cat creature on the box has like a little slingshot as its weapon, right? Because it's the base generic game. Then the second game, the cat upgrades its weapon from a slingshot to a bow and arrow.
Yep.
Now, Matt, I'm going to give you a guess. What do you think is the cat creature's weapon on the third box?
I mean, logical progression would be some sort of like flintlock weapon, but I'm going to assume something close to like a rocket launcher.
Dude has an RPG. You got this little kid's game.
Man, he steps it up.
Slingshot, you got a bow and arrow, and then boom, and it's a full-blown RPG just sitting in his hand, and he's smiling, and it's right behind him, and he's carrying this thing. I love it.
And that's actually one of the weapons you can upgrade your characters with. In the Gluttony Dragon, you can get a rocket launcher that helps your ranged attack in the game. So it's pretty funny.
So awesome.
Yeah, so, and the thing that shocked me about these games before we move on is just the quality. Like, they're just like little kids games, but they are ridiculous quality. Like, I mean, they might be like the best quality kids games I've really played. Like, it's pretty ridiculous. And I mean, I played some good kids games because Haba does an amazing job, but these things are ridiculous. So they have super sturdy, thick cardboard and like lots of amazing art on them. So,
it's not a cheap game.
So if you have kids, make sure to check out Numeral Legends on Kickstarter. But yeah,
or buy the game and then have kids after the fact.
Yeah. I mean, you can always do that too. Or if you're just into rainbows and unicorns and cupcakes, or like me, are into dragons that smash people's picnics and eat all their food, then check those games out. Awesome. Rob, you want to talk about this next one? I'm sure Tim might have mentioned it in chat already.
So, A Song of Ice and Fire, the tabletop miniature game, launched today from Cool or Not. And this one is also co-created with Eric Lang. And here's the thing. I did not expect it to do as well as it's doing on day one. Because for those that don't know, A Song of Ice and Fire tabletop miniatures game is just that. It is a tabletop miniatures game. This is not a board game. This is a miniatures game. Like when you think of Warhammer 40K, when you think of regular Warhammer, or even in some of the Blood and Fire games that they have, and I know Cool or Not has other miniature games. There's a ton of them. This is that type of game, and it launched today, and it currently right now is at its pledge goal, right? I thought it would hit its pledge goal. I wasn't worried about that. Its pledge goal was $300,000. It's already over $500,000.
It is Cool or Not, so I don't know what you... Cool or Not with an IP. That is a huge IP. I don't know why you didn't think it would go amazing.
Well, I wonder if there are people who are
because of miniature games.
Yeah.
And there could be some people that might be confused. Now, I will say this. The game looks absolutely gorgeous. And you can play it as a regular game. It's just know that it's a tabletop game. One thing I do like about this game, and from the things that I've been reading, is it's very simple. You do not need a tape measure. You do not need pen and paper and all that stuff. Like, everything is very simple and very fine-tuned. Like, one of the things that I like about A Song of Ice and Fire campaign and their movements compared to others, for example, Roy and I, and we'll talk about it more recently, but we just played Rune Wars, right? If you want to pivot your guys in Rune Wars, you have to spend a whole action to be able to pivot them. In A Song of Ice and Fire, you make your movement, and then you can turn them around however you want to. There's no wasting on pivoting and other type of directional stuff. You don't have to waste a whole turn to just be able to make your guys look left, right? And so it has a lot going for it. I'm so used to myself personally at Kickstarter being, for board game stuff. Now, I know it does a bunch of other stuff, but I've never followed any of it. It's miniature games. Yeah. And so I just thought maybe it would take like a day or two to hit its goal. No. Because one of the things that Cool or Not said at their expo that we went to earlier this year is they're not going to have any Kickstarter exclusives where somebody's going to get a unit that other people aren't going to be able to get. They're going to have different sculpts of those units, but you're not going to be able to get, like, there's not going to be like an infantry unit that's only Kickstarter exclusive.
Right. And they may have like since they're going to try to push the tournament scene with this a lot, like you basically have to do that. Like, there's no way they can be like, well, check out this super really good guy that nobody else can play, and the people who got it in the Kickstarter are going to win all the tournaments with it. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. Since they're going to try to, they've really said they're going to try to push organized play with this a lot.
Yes. Now, the sticks for measuring are very simple, very easy. It is what it is. You have their stick. Also, the details in the mini. Cool or Not is they are. Nobody, in my opinion, is in their league when it comes to details on the mini. There are other good companies, but man, these minis just look absolutely gorgeous. And the other thing that I'm looking forward to this, but I don't know if I'm going to jump on the board of the backing, is the card play. Yeah. And Roy, you played this, but when it's not your turn, people are playing cards to do stuff, and you can react and play other cards, and so that way there's not really a lot of downtime. Like, when you're playing, you're playing the whole time, whether you're reacting or moving or doing other things, and I like that, because that's one of the things when I played Warhammer 40K back in the day. When it wasn't my turn, my guy would just sit there and try to do all this stupid stuff, and I'd have to sit there and wait and blah, blah, blah.
You just get to take your pick off the board is basically what you get to do when it's not your turn.
Yeah. Well, in this, it seems a lot more interactive.
Yeah.
Now, here's the other thing that I'll say about this, and then we can move on, or you can comment on. The pledge level is at 150. Now, 150 is a lot of money, right? Mm-hmm. However, you are getting over 100 miniatures in this. If you were to compare that to the Fantasy Flight Rune Wars game that recently came out, Rune Wars, I looked it up, came out with 48 miniatures in the base box, right? 48 miniatures, good and bad. This has got 103. I believe it's 103. Let me see this real quick. I know it's over 100. There's 103 different miniatures that are in this game. That is a lot. Now, granted, a handful of those miniatures cannot be used. So I imagine it's probably 98 combat miniatures, and then 5 are going to be political miniatures. Yeah. Like Circe is a political, Tyrion, and I don't know who the political miniatures are for House Stark, but they have a bunch of stuff coming with this. Mm-hmm. It looks fun. It looks interesting. I'm not saying I'm not going to buy it. I'm probably going to buy it because I'm also, like Tim and other people, I'm a big Cool Mini or Not fan, and I'm also a big Eric Lang fan. But I just want to see if they're going to do, or if they're going to at least preview some more fantasy elements, or at least like another house. Like, it'd be really cool to see the Targaryen house, or even just, you know,
give
over
us
the
some
Black
Dothraki
Sea,
on horses, or give us some Unsullied or something.
Dothraki, or even Unsullied, yeah, I was about to say some armies from Slaver's Bay and stuff. My concern is I'm going to like this, and I'm going to buy into it, and it may not do as well, and big will pull the plug. Kind of seen that happen a little bit with Fantasy Flight. Is that something that Cool Mini is going to do or not? So we'll see, but it looks great. Everybody at least check it out. The miniatures are top notch.
Yeah, I got to
play
White Walker
this. Faction? Bro, they make a White Walker faction, Matt. I buy this game. I don't even care.
Yeah,
my wife pushing the baby out right then, scream at her head off.
The problem is, like, wouldn't we all just be playing the White Walkers? Because I'm a really big fan of the Undead already, so it'd just be
here's the thing. I don't want to play the White Walkers. I don't want to play the White Walkers.
But you want to play against them?
Yes, I just think that's so awesome. I love the idea. And I was telling Roy, like, my idea for the White Walker faction, their ability, if you have the Night King, anytime you kill an enemy unit, you get to roll dice, and if you roll properly, they raise, and they're now on your side.
And now Rob's designing the game.
I mean, I imagine that they've already come up with an idea for that, just like on Rune Wars with that skeleton guy.
Yeah, I got to play this at the Cool Mini or Not Expo, and I actually played it with Sam, and there's a video up on the Dice Tower, and I've heard from the Cool Mini or Not guys that they made a couple of tweaks to the game, but mostly the only tweaks that I can see that they've made at all is just that they've added different scenarios and modes of play, which is really cool. But most of the core mechanics are the same as when I played it, but it's a pretty interesting game that uses like the regular D6s, and you're trying to get certain things to hit, but as you lose different ranks, you're going to roll less dice, and you have to your opponent has to do morale checks each time you kill one of their units, and if they fail morale checks, they'll lose units. But one of the really interesting things, all of that's just regular rank and file miniature stuff. One of the interesting things I thought was great about this is the card play, and it's going to be a big deal in this game because there's a lot of back and forth with the cards. When your opponent does, like, oh, they make you do a morale check, you play this card and it makes it so they have to do a morale check instead, or oh my goodness, they attacked you and killed off one of your units, you play this card and now you get an extra activation on one of your units, so you get to attack like twice with that unit in one round. And there's all sorts of different things to help you heal units back, like muster your guys back together, and to do a bunch of different things. And the cards are going to be different based off of the leaders that you choose for your side. So each leader is going to have several cards that you'll add into your deck. So it'll be very thematic. Like if you're playing Jaime Lannister, it's going to have Lannister stuff. If you're going to have Robb Stark, it's going to have Robb Stark stuff. But then also if you have other people within that same faction, like whoever else they might have, like if you're the Lannisters and you have Gregor Clegane in there, the Mountain, then there'll be more Mountain type stuff in there, and depending on your style of play, you can play with these different leaders, and they'll give you different cards in your deck that you can use to counter your opponents or to play to get specific bonuses when you're doing critical attacks. So I think the card play is one part of this that people should really look out for, because there's a lot of that in the game, and I think it's pretty exciting. But yeah,
I love the chat right now. I don't think there's going to be any flaccid spears flopping around or anything like that. So I am excited for that. I know that was kind of the issue a little bit with Blood Rage and maybe some other games, but these look to be a hard mold, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure
so like
if it's still going to be like the regular stuff, because all I've seen is the resin miniatures, which is going to be different.
Yeah.
Did they say that they're going to be resin miniatures in the end, or?
I haven't read over everything yet.
I think that would increase the price of it dramatically.
Yeah.
Well, 150 though. Now, granted, you're getting
150 for a lot of minis, though.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you are getting 100 minis. You're also getting.
Remember,
I'll tell you everything that comes with it.
That resin mini during the Lords of Hellas Kickstarter, the one that they were offering. Now, granted, it was a very big mini, but that thing cost, I think, no, the Atlas, the one that was like 150 millimeters tall. Like that one, I think cost like $80 on its own, just because it was a resin sculpt and it was kind of big.
Tim, our Comedy or Not insider, says that they're using a different process. I wonder how many times he's read the Kickstarter page already. What's it been up? It's been up since like 3, so for like 6 hours. He's
probably... Hey Tim, did they do that for Rising Sun, or is this new to specifically this one?
I hope it's new specifically to this, just because this is a miniatures game. Like that's one thing. Like when I think of Warhammer and other stuff, I think of high quality minis.
Right
now, Cool Mini or Not does great detail on their minis, but if I'm gonna buy this game and there are soft spears and like bent banners or something like that, I'm really gonna be bothered by that, because that's not what I think of when I think of a tabletop miniature games. I think of clean and crisp and fragile enough where I can break it, but I don't break it because I'm paranoid about it. But there's a lot that comes with this. 103 miniatures, 7 infantry movement trays, cavalry trays, solo movement trays, 98 game cards, 62 tokens, 10 dice, 2 measuring sticks, 1 tactic board, 1 rule book, and 1 scenario book. All of that for $150. If you really think about that, the more I think about that, it's a good deal. I mean, that's a lot for your money. It's a lot. It's not bad. What's going on? What did somebody say?
No, we're just laughing at you.
I'm laughing at Adam. Adam says that Tim uses Cool Mini or Not cardboard as soap. So,
right?
Awesome.
I can see Tim. Anyway, it looks good. I'm excited.
Cool. So that is the Song of Ice and Fire.
Not Game of Thrones.
Yeah, you're not allowed to say the G word. It is the Song of Ice and Fire. So, cool. Hey, Matt, I heard that you may have gotten something awesome in.
I got this thing. Which is Champions of Midgard and its expansions. It's a lot of stuff. I spent most of the day after work sorting it, but I think the big thing is this playmat that I got. That it is roughly oh gosh, I gotta back up way back.
Bro, look how big that thing is.
Dude, it's like 3/4 of me. I don't think it will actually fit on Roy's table without like putting stuff on top of it.
Well, it's 4 foot is my table. If it's more than 4 foot, then it won't fit down inside. We'll have to put the thing on top.
It might barely fit, if anything. It's absolutely massive.
It's 5 foot by 5 foot if I put the boards in, so.
I think it'll fit if you put the boards in, but I'm not sure if you don't otherwise. But that thing is huge.
I have a crazy rig because Rune Wars is 6 foot by 3 foot board, so I had a crazy setup. I had a crazy setup for me and Rob to even be able to play Rune Wars with the full board, and we kind of like stayed away from one side of the board because we didn't want to fall off into the abyss. But yeah, that's awesome.
Well, you set it up to do that way, and I ended up putting up my whole over there.
Well, sadly they didn't fall off into the abyss.
I will say this though, Matt. You are going to absolutely love expansions for Champions of Midgard. Yeah. I will say overall, out of all the Euro games I've ever played, and this is even including the Godfather. Now, I do not include this as Game of the Year material because it's an expansion, right? However, if this had come out this year and it was all brand new, it would easily be in the running for my Game of the Year. But with the new expansion stuff, it is so much fun. And it makes the whole game relevant. Like back when you lost dice, now it matters because you can use those souls to buy stuff from Valhalla and stuff like that. It is a lot of fun. It just so great, and all the dice it adds 4 new types of dice into the game.
Yeah, my favorite part is how it adds a whole bunch of new types of dice because it's just you had 3 in the base game, and then it adds like 3 more, and then like a hero die
and then
also.
a new leader die. Yeah.
Yeah, so you get like tons of variety.
And those the Shield Maidens and the Berserkers, those pink and green dice for the Berserkers, they are so awesome. They hit on every single side except for one. But if you were to lose a guy, they're the first ones to die because I think they put in the rule book, they just run in there naked, charging, and so if anybody dies first, they die first.
And then you have like the bowmen who are actually better at just like getting food.
Well, the bowmen hit on every single side except for one as well. However, the bowmen, their double thing only counts for food.
Yeah, so they're better.
If you take them in battle,
hunting.
it's only going to count as a single hit. But if you take them hunting, their double thing will give you double food.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I'm excited.
Oh man, I'm excited. I hope we get to play together on Friday, and if we do, please bring it. I demoed it for a day and a half. I loved it. Had a blast. And it's easy to teach. It's really not hard at all.
Awesome. Well, I guess we should talk about a couple games that we've been playing.
I don't know, man. This is good stuff.
Matt, have you got a chance to play anything here recently?
Yeah, I played a bunch of stuff over the past couple of weeks, but I'll just talk about a game I don't think either of you have played, but we played Great Western Trail.
Nice.
Probably 2-3 weeks ago at this point. But man, that game, it's a little daunting at first, because when you're trying to learn it, there's a lot of components, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's very, very heavy, but when you actually get into it, it's not nearly as heavy, yeah. And so I thought it was going to be something that most people probably wouldn't like, because I was like, oh, it might be like a Euro-ish game, but I feel like it has enough of other mechanics in it that really make it feel less like, oh, I'm going here to collect this and do that, because you have all these different things where you have hand management where you're trying to like basically draft and your deck abilities, so you're trying to get better cows and get rid of your awful cows. Then you also you're basically building the map as you go by like placing different settlements and cities, or not cities, but buildings and stuff on the map that people have to stop at sometimes. So it's got like a weird little bit of Monopoly in it, where you're trying to like maybe be like, well, let me put this here, because if anybody passes this,
they go through.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's got a lot of stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it is very dense to set up. It doesn't feel dense when you're playing it. It feels sort of very light for what it is, but there's just a lot of cardboard in that game.
Nice.
So
I've heard tons and tons of great things from it, because I know that was one of the hits from Stronghold Games, because they had Great Western Trail and Terraforming Mars, and both those games people said were solid gold from people that like that sort of thing, you know. Yeah,
man. Again, I think one of the reasons that I bought it primarily is just because I was like, okay, well, this doesn't just look like a solid cubes pusher. There's other stuff in it that makes it more interesting. There's different strategies you can employ that feel very different each time you play the game. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So who won when you guys played?
I believe I did.
Matt took home the victory. He's the best cowboy of them all.
I think either that or AJ or Hector. I don't know. I don't remember at all. It's been literally that long. Like I said, it's been like 2 to 3 weeks.
I'm just glad you remembered that you played it, because majority of the times I'm like, hey, what did we play last week? You're just like, what?
We played like a bunch of like little things. I think it's just more like the things that I'm
I
new to.
saw that you guys played Rhino Hero with cell phones.
Ooh. Boy, yeah, that was intense. Don't do that. By the way, it is terrifying. If you thought Rhino Hero was a bit trepidatious, oh boy, when you got $600 worth of phone about 6 inches over the table, you're not really. You've never been that invested in a game before. I can tell you that much. It's scary.
How many levels could y'all go up? How many people were playing?
We went 3 because Hector was video recording / taking pictures of it, so we couldn't put his phone on there.
You put it on the top. It's fine.
Yeah, but the weights of the phone really start to mess with that cardboard a bit. Because I put mine on and the walls were just like, I was like, oh, here we go, yeah, this is great, everything's good. And then we just put other phones on.
That's
It was
awesome.
solid. Don't do it.
I can't.
It's not
wait.
fun.
I can't wait until we play Super Rhino,
Yeah.
Rhino Hero
Soonish.
Super Battle. Gen Con's coming out. I'm gonna try my hardest to make that happen. So
No. You're not going to try.
I'm going
It is
to make
going
it
to
happen.
happen.
Hopefully so. Hopefully
Yeah.
so.
Bro, it is going to happen.
I need to start the phone calls now.
Matt, it's a lot of fun. Like,
Yeah.
Rhino Hero is cute in its own way, but and it also adds monkeys, Matt, that you have to throw down, and you can build towers and bridges that go through each other and stuff. It's crazy. It is a lot of fun.
Yeah, because Rhino Hero was a ton of fun, and you're just building like a straight up tower.
You're just going
this
straight
one,
up.
towers are just going all over the place, literally all over the place. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
awesome.
It looks so
Well, me and Rob played a 200-point game of Rune Wars. Speaking of miniatures games that we've been talking about for a while. But we got a chance to do that. I got a bunch of the new like expansions for Rune Wars in. I think I have one of everything that has come out for it except for the 2 like siege packs, the ones that come with like extra of the like giant monsters. But it was I built my army, then I had Rob come over and build his army, and we made a whole Roy versus Rob video, which should be going up the 1st if you want to like check out like we did a battle report, so it was kind of interesting. We just talked about each round afterwards and like talked about the different things that happened. It was definitely a lot of fun. Like it was an insanely close game, insanely close.
It was very close, especially for the fact that I had like 10 minutes to build a 200-point army, and Roy's texting me, "Hey, man, my army's ready. When are you coming over here?" And I'm like, "All right, man, I ran from an appointment, ran over there, hadn't eaten lunch yet, which I can afford to miss several meals, so that was fine, but still ran over there, put my army together real quick, and just went at it. But it was a lot of fun.
I really like the army building in Rune Wars because it's very much like X-Wing army building, which is a lot of fun with all the different like upgrades. But this one, like the different amount of like trays you have of units cost different amounts. So if you put more trays, they're technically a little bit cheaper, and you get like to unlock extra slots,
More powers,
extra slots to put more cards in, and you just have. With the amount of stuff I have for it now, there's just like stacks of cards. It's like, okay, well, do I want to have the Necromancer that brings people back to life? Or do I want to have the Necromancer that shoots people?
Fair.
Do I want to have other things? Dude, Rob, it could have been worse than what I had. Because you know the little guy that was in the unit that was like pot-shotting people? There's another version of him that you can just heal again like a second time off of the runes. So if he was in there and I chose that icon, it would just be like, okay, count each green rune and heal again for that many.
Matt,
so
I must have killed. I killed Roy's army 2 times over, and he still ended the game with more people than I did.
Shocker! Spoiler: undead don't stay dead.
No, they do not. And,
very thematic that way.
Oh,
you need some fire. You just light everything around them on fire, and then when they get back up, they're on fire again, so they go back down.
You have to hit them really hard. If you hit them just enough to do a little bit of damage, then they'll regenerate that little bit of damage, you know?
They do, and it's
annoying. You have to, like, hit them hard enough to take them out completely. It works very much the same as, like, Necrons in Warhammer 40k, and that was the same army I played there. But Necrons had, like, the same sort of ability. Like, each time they died, you just roll a die. If you got a 5 or 6, they just stand right back up. So I really enjoy the whole undead. When guys die, they come back. And the Wykar the Undying fit that very much in that theme. But the humans are pretty awesome, too.
The humans are great. I really enjoyed it. We
play as a clan of bears?
No, but here's the thing.
They have elves. They have elves that are riding on cats that are coming out.
Yeah. But they're not like just normal cats. They're like not lions per se, but they're like a fantasy style cat. They're huge.
They kind of look like dire cats, sort of. Kind of weird.
I truly enjoyed it. I had a blast playing the game. I had a blast building the army. I always like to be the humans and just like go against the big monsters and stuff like that. And so I bought in. I ordered a couple of things for Rune Wars so I could build a team. But I'm excited actually to paint my Rune Wars minis because I'm gonna do some like custom Newman colors.
Nice.
Where like on the shields, there's going to have like a big N on there and stuff like that. I did that for my Warhammer 40K stuff. And they'll probably die faster just because they're going to look so ugly, but still, it's a lot of fun. But I think it'd be a lot of fun, Matt. Did you ever like Battle Lore? Like when we did those games of Battle Lore, did you enjoy that at all?
Really my jam.
Yeah,
Not really your jam?
Matt, are you, like, I just don't think you're super into the direct fight each other conflict games.
Well, not necessarily. It's not exactly something I'm keen on. I don't mind playing those games, but I feel like a lot of times, like, miniatures games or, like, heavy, like, war games like that, like, bog down a whole lot, and I just get very disinterested.
Yeah.
And to be fair, though, my one experience with Rune Wars that I can remember, I had this, like, really cool rock guy. I was really excited. He had, like, a big ballista on his back. Yeah, Battle Lore, sorry. And I was just like, I was throwing bones all day, and that thing didn't hit anything.
Yeah,
he didn't.
Poor dice
he didn't
rolls.
hit anything. I was like, oh my god, this is hot garbage. But you know, that's just how it works sometimes. But maybe that's what tainted my opinion of it. I was just like, man, this is just terrible. Why would I play this?
Yeah. Well, even with stuff like HeroClix, where it's like direct fighting each other, you won that game, and everybody else was like, we love this, and you're like, meh.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I just feel like there's too much stuff going on that to me is just not as interesting.
Just like too many powers all over the place, or
well, I feel like, so my thing is like I like stuff to like crunch and look at and sort of analyze. So that's why I like, especially things where you can build stuff, where whether it's building an engine or like literally building a town or literally building junk art.
I wonder if you might enjoy the experience better, because these games are designed to where you actually build your stuff and take it with you beforehand. So I wonder if you might enjoy it, like if you were like, which I know you probably won't get to the point where you are, but like actually looking at all the pieces and being like, which units do I want to take for my force? That's probably the part of it you would actually enjoy more than the actual combat of itself. And I'm kind of like right along there with you, because I have just as much fun trying to build the armies as I have like actually playing the game and see if they do decent.
Yeah, because especially when you have like restriction where you're like, okay, well, you got to keep it under this amount, and you're like, oh man, well, do I go for this trade-off? Like it's. I feel like there's more strategy almost in building your army than it is in some of the games. Depending on what's going on, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I would rather do the thinky bit than the bit where I just sit around and roll dice for 4 hours.
And most of these games, I've skipped that part for you by already building the armies and then just sitting you down to play.
And it definitely does cut out a lot of time, which is nice. But it is what it is.
Totally agree.
I don't hate them, but I don't. If you guys are like, hey, you want to play Battle Lord? I'd be like, hey, no. It's something else, maybe. I mean, if it was set up, I'd play, but
Nice.
Well, I would say Rune Wars is a little bit more extreme than Battle Lore.
Yeah, for sure.
You have more options in Rune Wars than you do Battle Lore, and that's why I think it's more extreme. Where in Battle Lore, you have these hexagons that you're moving on, and it's kind of like a set place of what you're going to do and can't do. And Rune Wars is a wide open field, and wherever you want to run to, you can go. If you want to go in the corner and just chill with Ed Sheeran and listen to music, you can do that. You can do whatever you want. But it's fun. I always liked war games, and I grew up on war games. I like seeing my strategy come to life. And Roy kind of questioned my strategy a little bit, but I thought it worked out great. It's there's one thing I screwed up on my strategy. We played a game where Roy, it was like an objective style game. He had to get a guy to the certain marker, and I had to kill a guy. If I killed the guy, I got 50 points. If he gets the objective, he gets 100 points. And so I stuck my biggest unit, and I sat it on then until I could surround his one unit that had to capture it. And once I surrounded it, then I moved my big unit. But by that time, it was too late, and my big unit, by the time it got into battle, was actually bombarded to death with archers and other things like that and spells, so that didn't work out. But with my strategy, I loved it. It did everything I wanted to. My cavalry came in, they swept through, they killed a lot of people. They got killed, but that was their goal. And I had my big infantry unit left. But Roy's freaking necromancer dude that just kept bringing everybody back to life. Matt, it's like you're in a fight with Mike Tyson. And you knock out Mike Tyson like 7 times.
Like
KO.
back up.
He's he's been 10 counted, right? And then it's like his corner comes out and they consult him. And they're like, it's okay, Mike. And they take his gloves off. They massage his back. They give him fresh water and everything like that. And you're not allowed to do that. You just have to sit there bopping back and forth, waiting. And then after he takes a little nap, he comes back and he starts fighting again. I mean, I kept going against fresh units because when they come back, especially with that one spell he was doing with that big guy, it's not just a guy or two. He brings whole trays of units. And so, okay, it takes a lot to kill a tray. You're going to kill a tray? Fine, you're going to spend a lot to kill it. I'm going to do this one spell, and they're all back. Screw you, Roy Candidate. Screw you. Screw that. So I felt good about it. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. If you guys, I think it's going to be a good contender for a Song of Ice and Fire. I just hope FFG sticks with it. You know, because recently on some games it seems like
they're definitely pushing it hard this year. They've got a huge slate of stuff.
They pushed hard for Battlelore. They even came out with an iOS game for Battlelore.
Battlelore was way slower rolling than this has been for sure.
I understand, but I mean, they did big stuff. They also did big stuff for Forbidden Stars, and that just kind of imploded. And so we'll see. That's one thing I like about Cool Mini or Not. They put out content. I mean, they're still making Zombicide content.
Yeah.
They put it out, so we'll see.
Now, if only they would just make some Blood Rage expansions, that'd be.
I know. Come on.
But I do think his
he
next
needs
game,
to. It's a drafting game. Drafting games need more cards. Come on.
I think I know what the next game is going to be, or the next setting is going to be. And it's all completely meta. But I was asking him at Cool Mini or Not. I was like, hey man, so you did the Vikings, that's great, and now you just did Asia. And so, like, you've done Northern Europe, and you've done Asia, primarily Northern Japan, or Northern Japan, sure. I said, what about that Africa continent, though, with all the crazy backstory and crazy religions and all the stories? I mean, the monsters and things that you could do, and all of a sudden his face got real big, and he started smiling, and I was like, I'm not allowed to talk about it. I was like, we're going to have, like, some crazy, like, some Zimbabwe people. I mean, that would be awesome. I think that'd be a really cool game, because you want to talk about crazy voodoo stories and other things like that? Man, that would be ridiculous. Have like an elephant army? No, but there's elephants in Africa, but elephants primarily are Asia and India and stuff like that. But still, I'm excited.
Awesome.
I would love to see either like a Latin American, like Aztec or Maya, or an Indian one where you have.
See, I asked him about that, and he didn't smile as big. I asked him about that.
You're just sitting here naming off countries.
I also asked about America. I was like, what about some Native American type thing? You know, and then he was like that, and I was like, what about a Latino type thing? And so I just kind of went around. I did North America, South America, and then I wrapped back around. And once I said Africa, he said, I can't talk about it. And his face got real big, and I was like, I know what you just said. So anyway, we'll see.
Awesome. Well, I guess we should go ahead and get to our topic since we're 45 minutes in. So we're going to talk real quick about some of the first games. So what would be the first game you would teach a brand new board gamer? Is there a specific game that you would want to start someone out in the hobby with?
I know we've kind of talked about this in the past, but I think it completely depends on the person.
Yeah.
Completely. I've taught people who've never really played board games outside of Monopoly. The very first game I taught them was Dead of Winter, and they absolutely loved it. In fact, the wife won, and she's not even a board gamer. And then I've taught other people Castle Panic.
Yeah.
So it just, I can't give you just like a generic base, and it will never ever be Monopoly Gamer. I don't care how great Monopoly Gamer is. I'm not gonna buy that game just because of the hype, and I'm usually not that person. But I'm just so against Monopoly Gamer for whatever reason. I would teach Ethnos 100 times over Monopoly Gamer.
I mean, it's only like $75 to get the whole thing, Rob. $75 for Monopoly that everybody's jumping on.
No. But side note, comic movie trailers. Anybody see the trailer for Stranger Things season 2?
We're just not going to actually do a topic this week.
Bro, Stranger Things though, season 2, off the chain. I saw that night. I watched season 1 all over again.
Really?
Spoiler alert. It's amazing.
Oh,
that new trailer is ridiculous off the chain. and you see L come back again, I'm going to spoil everything for you. L comes back, and it gets some crazy, and the portal never closed. What is going on?
Man, the thing that I love about that trailer is mostly that they're using Michael Jackson's Thriller during it. Yes. And I was just like, oh, yeah. Yes. Putting that money on.
It looks so good.
Matt, did you see that your favorite Blood Rage figure is in Thor Ragnarok? The trailer? At the end of the trailer, freaking Hulk fighting Fenrir.
Man, that whole trailer, I was just like, yes, yes. And then it gets to the end and Hulk's fighting that giant fire thing. I was like, what is this?
Oh, yeah.
I was so
he punches that, like, what is that freaking giant fire thing that punches?
It has, like, a name, and it's actually part of the comics. I don't know what it is. I don't care.
So the movie's called Ragnarok because at the end of the trailer, Fenrir's there in Asgard, and we know Asgard's going to have Ragnarok because that's where Fenrir is, and that's how it works in Blood Rage.
Man. And isn't Thor having a conversation with, like, Hulk while he's all Hulk?
Yes.
And they're just in there chilling, and he's like, no.
He's like, I'm like fire, and you're like water. He's like, no, I'm kind of like fire.
And he asks
like,
Hulk like
raging fire.
Yeah.
Thor like smoldering
fire.
It's gonna be good.
I'm so hyped for that movie.
Man, we need.
It hurts me that it's coming out in November,
man.
Hey, so what would be the first game you would teach to a new gamer, Matt?
Dexterity games, probably. I think they're the easiest and the easiest thing that you can take. Yeah, like even like hardcore gamers will be like, "Hey, this is fun," and people who don't play games will be like, "Hey, this is fun," and then eventually everybody's like, "Hey, this was fun," and then that's it.
I really love cooperative games for teaching people new games. For one, so I can help them along. I don't want a quarterback. I still want them to make their own decisions and let them play the game. But majority of people who have played board games in the past and are brand new to like the board gaming hobby have never seen like a cooperative board game, and they're like, so we're not like competing against each other, we're competing against the game itself. And then a lot of them have these tense situations where it's like, oh my goodness, if we don't do this properly, we're gonna lose. I love teaching people like Legendary that are like just coming into the hobby, just because that's one of my favorite games. And I mean, the card play is kind of crazy and a little bit going on, but you can still help each other out and you're working together for a common goal. And then, of course, all the pandemics and Arkham Horror and different things like that work great too. But yeah, I'm definitely a fan of cooperative games for teaching people who are just coming into the hobby a game so you can work together. So I don't have to crush you in a game. We can just all be crushed by the game itself.
Man, there you go. How about Ghost Stories? That'll be everybody's favorite intro game.
I want people to like actually enjoy the hobby and like come into the hobby. I'd just be like, this is the game we've never won. They'd be like, why? I mean, most people, they've never won it because like it's really hard. Me, I've never won it because I just gave up and never played again.
Hey, yeah. So back on this movie train. Have y'all seen the trailer for Bright?
How do I mute Rob?
Hector was talking about it. I still haven't watched it yet, though.
All right, I'll add it into the chat. I won't talk about movies anymore, even though it's part of my life and I love it. It's fine.
Well, we are at 9:50.
Well, it's Epic Gaming Night. You know, it could be a game.
Epic Movie Nights. Welcome to the Epic Movie Night podcast.
You know, bust out Axis and Allies, put Dunkirk on in the background, just have a go.
Cones of Dunshire. Nice.
My brother saw Dunkirk and he wasn't that excited about it. He was actually kind of disappointed, which hurts my feelings because I'm a big history guy. And he was like, yeah, not his thing. I was like, oh crap, that sucks.
So, what factors go into choosing a game for a first-time gamer? I know you kind of already talked about this, Rob, that just depends on the person. But what do you think the game kind of has to be?
If I'm gonna try to do something like you said, where it's cooperative, or something where it's light. That will get it to the table, because especially when you're playing like a heavier game, like a Dead of Winter, because that's not a very light game. But when you can co-op that game, I'll sort of meta those games with brand new players, just so they can get an idea. And then the next game, I'll definitely be more independent and stuff like that. But I always try to do interactive, fun games. I don't want to do thinky too much if they're brand new to the hobby.
Yeah.
Because even if they're like this big science or math person, or if they're a big economics person, let's see how they act individually. Let's see how they handle losing. Let's see how they handle winning. I mean, there's a lot of different things that games bring out of people.
For real.
I've seen some of the quietest people I've known in my life end up being like the biggest jerks. Like, screw you, got you. When you're playing games, and outside of games, they won't say like 2 words to you. It's just because they just don't talk. So it again, not to cop out, but it depends. But I definitely try to do fun or co-op games.
For sure. I would say like something that doesn't take like way too long. You don't want to have something that's going to be ridiculous. Like, we love to play epic games, but I'd want to do something that you can play and it's not going to like last forever. Or maybe just like intro them, like Matt said, with something super short to be like, hey, check out what these games can do.
Yeah, or like, I mean, another thing, like social deduction games, I don't think are too hard to teach, and I think they typically engage people at the table very well. So
I think a lot of times the first time somebody plays a social deduction game, they'll just be like, have no clue what they're supposed to be doing and what's going on, and then after their first game is over, their mind will be blown.
It's one of those things you definitely want to play with like 2 or more people who know what's going on. So it's like me and Rob are screaming at each other, and we're just like, "Nah, man, you're the werewolf. Nah, man, shut up."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and then they're just like quietly like, "Oh boy, okay."
It's kind of interesting when people realize like, oh, this is a game where I'm supposed to lie to the other people. Like, that's kind of an interesting thing. It's like, oh, that's crazy. I have to pretend like I'm something that I'm not. So that's sort of intriguing for a lot of people who aren't exposed to like the werewolf genre of social deduction games, you know?
Yeah.
So definitely awesome stuff. Is there any new games, like super new games, that you think would be great to start someone out in board gaming?
Oh yeah. One, I'll say King Domino. I got to play that at Dice Tower Con. It's very simple. It's very easy, but it's a lot of fun. It's not hard to pick up on at all. And that recently came out, I want to say this year, and it won the Spiel des Jahres. And then I will also say Go Cuckoo, even though that came out last year for like a dexterity game. I like Junk Art overall better, but I think if I was going to introduce dexterity games, I might do Go Cuckoo. 1, because of size and transportability. 2, it's something that you could kind of play with all age groups and not have to worry about the competition.
And it's not very intimidating
and stuff like that. And then I will say the stupid game Ethnos. It's not a stupid game. It's an ugly game, but I've really enjoyed the times I've played Ethnos. I think that's a fun game where if you want to teach drafting and card management and set collection and things like that. I mean, granted, I play a lot of games, but we had the rules done and down in under 10 minutes, and we were picking up and playing.
Yeah.
So
I think Century Spice Road would be a great game to like teach people who are just coming into gaming, because it's super quick, super fast. Nobody's gonna have downtime and be like worried about, oh my goodness, is it gonna be my turn again? Because it's immediately your turn again. Super quick game, and it's just about exchanging cubes for other cubes and getting points, which is not too crazy, but it's super quick and super fun. Trying to figure out how to get all the combos to go off.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Do you think there's any other new games you think would be great for teaching people, Matt? Matt's just gonna look.
Do you think Sagrada, Matt, is good for new people?
Oh yeah. Sagrada would be very good. It's not too heavy.
It's pretty.
Yeah, it's very pretty. It doesn't take too long. There's not too much thinking in it. Like, there's enough that you're like, but it's not like you're going to be there for 10 minutes while somebody's like, should I move my troop to the left or the right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that one's pretty good. I kind of forgot that existed. Thank you.
I'm telling Daryl. No, I'm just kidding.
Nah, man.
Is there anything that you think you shouldn't do when teaching someone games for the very first time?
Mm-hmm.
Don't put Twilight Imperium on the table.
Don't crush them.
That also.
There is no point in crushing them. Who cares if you're the better player? Who cares if you could win? And it's not so much that it allows like you're just like giving them the game, but you will push so many people away if you just flat out crush them. If you're playing with people for the very first time and they've never played before, go on amateur mode. It'll be in your best interest, because if they learn that, hey, this is fun, games are fun, and if you're going to win, try to make it close or something. But if you just beat them down, you will push more people away quicker than you will doing anything else. Roy, don't crush people, Roy.
I don't ever do that. Nope, I mean, there's a lot of games that, especially when I play with first-time people, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not playing that game specifically, because, I mean, if I tried to pull punches, it would be extremely obvious, you know? It's like, oh... Or like if I feel like it's a game that I feel like they would still really enjoy, like I'll just teach the game and just completely sit out sometimes, which can still be fun too, and just have other people play the game itself. But yeah, I think attitude and the way you act is really important too. Like if you're trying to bring people into your group or bring people into the hobby or show people what gaming is for the first time, like show them how the game's actually super exciting, and don't make it about winning and everything have to win. And when you don't win, or when somebody does something you don't like, you throw pieces at them and things like that. You never want to do anything crazy like that.
Okay, Darth Vader says Tales of the Arabian Nights is a good intro game. I love that game. Love that game. Would you guys consider that an intro game?
My wife loves it and has played it with my
But is that something you'd pull out for like
sister-in-law.
first time?
I feel like it would work perfectly fine first time. It's like there's
do
no
that
real
if I
like
needed a
winning
person,
or
like,
point
RPG
in that
stuff.
game. Now I'm pretty sure
it's a game
everybody
about-
likes stories, so
Yeah, it's a game about telling stories. So it really, again, depends on the group. But it's like I feel like most people would be able to sit down and be like, "Oh yeah, this is cool," and it really engages them on like a level to be like, "Ah, this is my quest. I need to do this. I need to do that." Like, yeah, if you get stuck in jail, you're probably gonna have a bad time. But like,
yeah, I feel like if somebody's
the whole rest of the game is so open.
if somebody's too competitive, they might not like the game because you can't be competitive in that game. If they're expecting Monopoly and you play Tales of the Arabian Nights, they're gonna be like, "But I can't like win on purpose. It's too random." Yeah, I mean the whole game doesn't matter. It's more about the stories you tell along the way. But you can easily like lead them up to that, and don't give them false expectations of, "Oh my goodness, you got to get to these many points and get to Baghdad and then you're the winner." No, that's not what that game is.
Bombs over Baghdad.
Exactly.
Da-da.
Awesome. What do you think are good first-time kids games?
I like Animal Upon Animal. If you're talking about a kid's dexterity game, I like that more than Go Cuckoo, just because the pieces are bigger, and then you don't have to explain, well, what if the egg falls and what if this falls? It's just nope. You roll the dice, you do that. I think for other good kid games, what is that one? Is it Magic Labyrinth that we played?
Yeah.
With the magnets and stuff.
Yes. Really enjoy that for kid games and stuff like that.
Yeah. I have a bunch of kid games that are amazing. Of course, like Haba Library, like just pick a Haba game. Majority of them are great for kids. Like Unicorn Glitter Luck for super young kids. It's like literally roll the die and see what happens. It's not a game that really has choices, but it can get them used to taking turns and figuring things out. And then things like Orchard is also sort of like that. We're just rolling the die and seeing what happens, but it can teach them colors and how to take turns. And it's also cooperative, where you're trying to not roll the crow on the die, which you can't really help because you're just rolling a die. But it's interesting to work together to try to pick all the fruit off the orchard before the crow comes. But yeah, there's a ton of Haba games that work really great. I
also like that Go Away Monster game. Now, that's not Haba.
Go Away Monster is...
That's good for when they're really young.
Yeah, Go Away Monster is literally... I mean, if we're talking about first kids game, Go Away Monster is definitely 100% my answer. Because my kids have played that game so many times, and you can play it with, like, your kid... Like, if you're going to help them,
1 or 2.
I was playing Go Away Monster with my daughter when she was 1, because literally I'm just like, okay, reach your hand in the bag and grab something out, and when you grab it out, we'll put it on your board, and it's completely cooperative. You're just trying to pull things out of the bag and and place it on your board to finish up your bedroom without pulling out monsters. And when you pull out a monster, you just yell "Go away, monster!" and throw it in the box. Lots of
you don't
fun.
just yell "Go away, monster!" You got to make a scary face like you're scared. You got to act like it's going to come and get you and all that stuff. Man, you gotta get into character.
I've had so much success playing Go Away with Monster with my kids, and it's probably definitely the most played kids game. Definitely a good call, Rob. I don't know why that wasn't my first one, but yeah, when they're super young, Go Away Monster is amazing, and it's back in print. It's back in print, so awesome.
Yeah, it's a good one. And also, like, if you want to do maybe a little bit more competitive, I know we talked about Haba. What's their Monza? Their
Monza's really good.
Monza's fun, and that's you don't want to do when they're so young. I'd say maybe 4 or 5, but that's when you're rolling the dice to move your car, and you want to line up your dice in the best way to have them go the furthest and stuff. But I'll tell you, my daughter, she really likes dominoes, man. My daughter, she will throw down. We've been playing a lot of Mexican trained dominoes, and like I've said in the past, I have to try to beat her. Like, now, she's good, like legit good.
Does that game use the same rules as like regular dominoes? So you have to like make like additive additions, so you score points in increments of 5s?
No.
Okay.
You're just trying to get rid of all of your stuff, and then if you don't get all your stuff,
you have to have them matched, and you want to have a train. Like for example, if I put a 5-1 down, and 5 is what, like, let's say we start off with double 5s. To start off on your area, you have to put down a 5 and something. But then whatever your something is, you have to match off of that. So it's not as competitive like regular dominoes. However, if you can't do it off of your own train, your train now opens up for other people.
Yeah, and then they can play on your train.
And they can block you. And so my daughter, she does that all the time, and she laughs about it. Dad, I just blocked you. Dad, I just blocked you. It's like, shut up, kid, go to your room. She's like, I'm like, not really. I'm sorry. I love you. But like, it's just a lot of fun, man. Yeah. It's simple. It's easy. It's a good time.
My mom loves Mexican train.
Yeah.
So
I actually just played regular dominoes when I was a kid.
Oh, regular dominoes are fun too.
Yeah. I don't know why that game is that fun. It's just kind of, it's like, hey man, math, here you go. I'm like, yeah.
Awesome.
But I'm weird.
No, I like it.
So, what do you think the very first board game that you ever played was? And this is
either Risk or Monopoly. It was one of those generic.
Risk? Like you went as far as playing Risk? Because that, like...
My dad retired a lieutenant colonel. I mean, my whole life was military. I remember by the time I was 8, I was playing Axis and Allies, which that's a more extensive strategy, world domination game. So, yeah, bro.
I remember playing like Stratego really, really young and playing Life really, really young. But I also know we had Monopoly Junior, and we played that a bunch when we were extremely young.
I remember.
So I'm not 100% sure what the first board game we played was, but it was probably one of those 3.
Well, then why did you add the question if you don't even know the answer?
Because I'm just trying to think back. Like, how far back can you remember? I really want to say Monopoly Junior, which makes me sad, actually.
What about, like, well, that wasn't bad, though, for back then. I mean, it wasn't, games back when you were a kid, Roy.
Well, listen, my dad played D&D and had tons of war games. It's his fault.
No, but I'm saying that was the big thing for back then. It wasn't, board games weren't necessarily targeted around little children back then. They were targeted for older people. How many people ever remember playing Sorry, though? Popping that bubble?
Dude, another one that I think might have been really early, too, is Guess Who?
Oh, yeah. That was in classrooms.
Yeah, the red side and the blue side.
Yeah, I remember that. That was, like, super old school. What do you think, Matt? If you had to think what was the very first board game you ever played, what would you think that was?
Probably... one of the ones that I have the first memory of would either be Trouble or Life.
Gotcha. With the Pop-O-Matic? Pop-O-Matic, man?
Dude, that thing is a solid plastic board. You cannot break it. That was amazing.
That's awesome.
Back in the day of quality.
Plastic ain't that cheap anymore. You can't make it.
No.
Awesome. So, what do you think the first hobby board game that you ever played was? If you had to think of a game that was like in the actual hobby category. Everybody's
isn't that
hard.
Well, like, isn't that Risk?
I mean, I guess. I mean, Risk could probably still sort of be. I mean, Risk is
Risk is
mass
Monopoly.
It's a
market.
lifestyle game. It takes up so much time.
I think hobby board games would be more of like the things that aren't as necessarily as mass market. Maybe they used to be mass market, but I don't know.
I don't know, man. Like, I played board games for a little bit and then got really involved in sports and other school activities. So if I were to do that, I would probably
and getting
then
trapped
say
in other countries.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I got trapped in other countries, got dropped off by a guy in a van in Mexico. True story. I would say probably then like Battlestar Galactica, because I dropped that stuff for a while because I was really involved in school and then came back to it. No, Risk Legacy, because that's because we did that and then we did Battlestar and Game of Thrones and Mansions of Madness, all within like a couple of weeks of each other.
We did Settlers of Catan and Flux and Bang, like back when I was still playing a ton of Redemption, and Robo Rally. I played a lot of Robo Rally.
Oh man, speaking of that, I found a deal, so I got the new edition, right?
Nice. I want to play that. I heard the quality is terrible, but I heard the game is great.
For like $15, I was like, oh,
nice.
Can't beat this. I was like, this is okay. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry to derail again.
No, man, Robo Rally is good, man. I've never played it. I want to play it.
You haven't played it?
No, man,
oh, it's like a less fun Mechs versus Minions.
Yeah. I mean, you're
still tons of
programming
fun.
moves and stuff.
I mean, yeah, no, don't get me wrong, it is fun, but it's like it has that same Mechs versus Minions feel, so you're just like,
But it's not cooperative, so you're like screwing each other up, which makes it a lot of fun. Oh man, I love Robo Rally. Like I literally grew up with Robo Rally because when I was playing that, I mean, we're talking about like early teens or like maybe preteens when that was happening. So it was pretty young.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Adam in chat is talking about how one of the first games he played with his dad was Diplomacy, and I'm about to ask him if he's still close with his dad.
I mean,
I packed up my bag and left that day.
I played Gamma World, which is D&D, way before I ever played like what I would consider hobby board games. So what about other tabletop first? Speaking of that, what was your first like CCG? Did you play any?
Oh my goodness, it was so cute. It was so pretty. I remember just walked into the room. No, I mean, the way you asked that sounds like, who are we dating? Our love life.
Yeah, who's your first CCG, Rob? What was your first?
That's
first
creepy.
CCG.
Yeah, right. It had to have been Magic.
Oh yeah.
No, Redemption. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, Redemption. No, Redemption was my first CCG.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I remember I really wanted to play Overpower, and this was before Pokemon ever came out. I really wanted to play Overpower, and Overpower is like a Marvel-based like collectible card game that a few of my friends had, and I was really big into like the X-Men TV show, and I just like wanted to have a Professor X-Men deck, and I was like, Mom, Dad, I really want Overpower, and they're like, we don't know, that might be of the devil, so you can't play that. So they got me the Redemption collectible card game, which is like the Christian version of Magic the Gathering, sort of. It has different rules. It actually reminds me a little bit of Netrunner in a way as well, because you're chasing after certain cards in your opponent's deck and trying to like capture those specific cards, the Lost Soul cards. But yeah, I had that game and it literally sat in my room for like a year because I couldn't understand the rule book. And then my dad finally like figured out how to play the game and taught me and one of my other friends, and then it just like spread like wildfire, and it went all the way to us playing crazy tournaments and like national events and all sorts of craziness. And I did that for like years. But I played that a lot more than I played board games back in the day. Matt, I know you messed around with a little bit of Magic back in the day. Did you play any like CCGs really?
Pokemon.
So yeah, you started at Pokemon.
I think I was in like third or fourth grade when it
was
hit real
hot.
big. So it was so it's like everybody was like, dude, check it out, I got an Aerodactyl's holographic, and everybody's like, wow. So it was
my mom and dad wouldn't let me play Overpower, but then they let me play Redemption, and then when Pokemon came out, they let me get Pokemon, so I had tons of Pokemon stuff, and I played with a bunch of the other guys that I used to play Redemption with. But they were like, everybody had it. Like the neighbor kids had it. Like all the kids at school had it. But like I knew how to play this game. Like I played Pokemon. Like I built a deck and got specific cards to like make my deck better. And like I'm trying to play with other kids, and they're like, "You play the game?
You're trying to play the game. We're trying to just get things."
So everybody else was just trying to like. I would trade away holographic cards to get cards that I knew had better special abilities to maximize my deck. And all the other kids are like, what are you doing, man? Like, this is not what Pokemon is. Like, they were all trading and collecting, and I was like, let's play Pokemon. And it just was not the same level. But I had several other friends that were super into it, too, so. But
Matt, I love what you typed in chat.
Okay, man. So I never realized what that game was until we had a guest on, I think almost a year ago, who was talking about Hero Quest. I don't even remember who it was. And I was just like, what is this game? And I Googled it, and I was like, oh, my God.
Jerry Hawthorne was talking about it.
I played with that in a sandbox when I was like 8. And these are people who are just like, wow.
Oh,
it's like
man,
games they really want. It's like super expensive. I'm like, there's probably still pieces of it in the woods somewhere.
That's one of the things, like back when you were a kid, you might not have necessarily had as much respect for the board game. You're like, oh, cool pieces, let's go
take the board game apart.
Yeah. Well, I think that was the thing. It was probably bought for my friend who was 2 years older than me, who was like maybe 10 or 12, and it's like, I mean, honestly, 10 to 12-year-olds, if they don't play a lot of board games, that's probably not going to be their like piece de resistance. They're not going to be like, yes, I get into this is great. They're just going to be like, oh, what? No,
I did that.
I'm just gonna take these guys out and we're gonna fight them in the backyard. That's what we did.
I did that with my uncle's copy of Axes and Allies before I learned how to play it.
You took all the pieces and played with them.
Well, there's a lot of pieces. Like you come with tanks and boats and ships and infantry and stuff. And so, I mean, I grew up like my presents growing up were like $5 at the dollar store. They'd buy me like 4 or 5 of those dollar bags of the green plastic army men.
Yeah.
And so when you open up Axes and Allies to a little kid, it's different colored plastic army men that are really small that also come with tanks and planes. So yeah, I remember doing that. Now I never took them into a sandbox or anything, but yeah, I definitely remember playing war or army men with board games that was not meant to do that.
Nice. Did you guys ever play the Pokemon Master Trainer board game?
Yes.
It was like a Pokemon game that had like a whole bunch of Pogs that you had to go around and collect, basically. Yep. And then you'd battle the Elite Four in the end. My friend had that game and we used to love it.
I've never learned how to play that game.
Really?
I might
Properly?
still own it. Yeah.
Really?
It was one of those things. It was bought for me 5th grade. They were like, here's a game. Nobody's teaching me how to learn it. I'm trying to read a rule book. I'm, like.
Do you think it's
8,
complete,
10-ish,
Matt?
That's a solid question.
Dude, Matt, let's play Pokemon Master Trainer. Dang it.
It's somewhere in this like 3 households of junk that I have. Like, I mean, you can see clearly behind me. Here's some just piles of random assorted clothes and blankets because I have no other place to put them. So it's somewhere, maybe. It might have been yard saled by now. I don't know.
It might have actually turned into real Pogs and people were throwing slammers at them.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. So did you guys play any miniatures games at all? Like actual miniatures games?
I've played Warhammer before, but that was like 5 years ago.
I played HeroClix when it first came out, if that actually counts. But then I didn't play any Warhammer until like I was like 19 or something like that. Maybe 20. One of my friends was super into it and it got me into playing. Well, he got me into the hopes of playing. So I got a bunch of Warhammer and painted them all up, played a couple games with him, but then I decided I wanted to go to the store where I ran D&D games and try to play some pickup games of Warhammer 40K there, and quickly learned that the Warhammer crowd is not my crowd. So after playing a couple of games at the shop, I quickly sold all of my Warhammer 40K stuff that I had beautifully painted. I don't think it was beautifully painted, but it was painted. So good times.
Oh man, good stuff. Sorry, chat is awesome tonight.
Everybody knows that my role-playing game history. Matt, I know you've played D&D and stuff. Around what time did you actually start playing that?
Like 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, gotcha. Cool.
It's very recent. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I played tons of Game World growing up for years, and like my same character is still alive technically in the game that I played when I was like.
There's
12?
Roy not giving up. He's still
11?
won.
Say what?
Oh man, you're just not giving up. I love how you're like, technically my character's still alive. So when you say that in the back of my head, I'm thinking Roy's still playing Gamma World, whether subconsciously Roy's still playing. Like,
I am still playing Gamma World. Like, it's still going on.
Totally just chilling. His character's like kind of maxed out all of his points, and he's just like relaxing. And yeah,
my character's totally
right
AFK. Like, he's been AFK for like 15 years. He's just waiting for me to come back. Do whatever. We could get my group together and be like, Dad, okay, we're gonna do reunion. Where'd we leave off? Let's do this.
Nobody would remember but Roy. Roy would be like, "Oh, I know exactly where I was, and you guys died, and this happened."
I kind of do. Dude, role-playing games stick in your head. I don't know if it's just everybody or just me, but like I remember a lot of the stories from our role-playing games, and I feel like it's much stronger in role-playing than even in board games. Like board games have a lot of awesome epic moments, and some games do it better than others, but like role-playing games, the stories that you make as a group, like those things stick around for a while. But yeah,
good times.
But you've only like dabbled with a little bit of D&D stuff, right, Rob?
We didn't even play one campaign. Like I think my character got to the second level after like a night of playing.
Well, I mean, really, what does playing one campaign mean? Does a campaign ever
we didn't even do
end?
a campaign. No, we did like a story in the campaign. I do remember some of the things that I did. It was really funny. I got mad at a guard, so I killed the guard and tried to hide its body. And it was like my character was like good, and I wasn't like neutral or bad or anything, and so it was completely against my character. But the guy who was being the DM was just being stupid, and I was like, nope. I throw my axe at him because
was your
I'm
character
tired of
like?
this.
Did he follow a deity or anything like that?
No, he was just a good dwarf warrior guy, but he was a good guy.
A lot of times, if you do crazy stuff like that, the DM will just be like, "And your god forsakes you." So
yeah.
I'm more surprised that your DM wasn't like, "Oh yeah, you can absolutely attack this guy in town that's wearing plate mail that's actually level 15. Go for it."
That happens a lot of times too.
You get straight murdered.
Well, we were all brand new, and then we played Gamma that one time at Roy's.
Yeah, man.
So that was fun.
We played Dark Sun in the car. That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Bro, I've got a crazy idea for a Stranger Things campaign that I would love for us to do. Like when I was watching it the other day, I was like, "Oh man,
dude, they have that system that's supposed to be based off of like being able to play kids."
I have it somewhere.
You got it?
Yeah.
Matt, come on.
I don't have
run?
the book. I just have the PDF. I don't think so.
Nice.
I would
watched
just
somebody run it
make up my own.
You're just like, yeah, roll some dice. I mean, you can literally do that in a role-playing game. Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that games that you played early in your board gaming hobby affected your taste in games?
No.
Really?
No, as I got older,
Rob cut out.
The Monopoly, Doctor Who, and no, I'm still here.
Oh.
Well, it's just getting choppy.
Cool.
Oh, okay.
Start over. So what happened?
I just played the basic games as a kid, and so I'm beyond that. I really like games. So
Gotcha. But as you were playing those Axis and Allies and stuff like that, and Risk, as you got a little bit older, do you think that kind of molded like your taste a little bit?
Not so much, just because I took such a hard and long break. I mean, it was
gotcha.
like once I hit like maybe even middle school, like once I started to play football and baseball and I got really good, and then I started to play on like additional teams, especially for baseball on AA teams and stuff like that, and did some like that became my focus. And also where I went to school as a kid was an hour away. And so like it's not like I had time to come back. And on the weekends, if I wasn't working a job, then I was doing chores at the house or I was doing something else. I had a very busy. Yeah, I mean I didn't have one of those. Not that it was bad or anything like that, but like I didn't just have like the sleepovers or anything like that. I think throughout my whole school year, like once we moved to Arkansas, maybe twice out of 9 years of school, I had people sleep over at my house.
Oh, yeah.
Just busy. Always stuff going on.
We had people come over to our house all the time and like stay the night and just play role-playing games all night long. Like it was like a thing we did constantly as kids, which was crazy. But we also did like sleepovers to play NES games, Super Mario and Track and Field all night. Did you guys ever play Track and Field? Did you guys ever play that game on NES?
On Nintendo, but I would never run. I'd get on my hands and knees and pat with my hands.
Yeah, you're that. I'd just be like,
especially against the cheetah.
And if you ever do the long jump, no one ever like actually jumps. They jump off the pad and then jump back on the pad.
Oh yeah,
dude, that's some nostalgia right there. We would literally have tournaments because you could set up tournaments in that game, and we'd play tournaments of Track and Field. Good times. But yeah, we played a lot of other like the CCGs and board games and stuff, and Pogs during our crazy things. I think growing up playing games definitely shaped a lot of like what I like, and the fact that I played so many role-playing games growing up. But I mean, like you, I took a decent amount of a break when I did a lot of music stuff, like for a couple years. So I took a break, did a lot of music stuff, met my wife, and then got back into gaming, and then just it was a downward spiral from there. And she's like, "You're not the musician I married." No, she doesn't say that.
Ambi asked a good question. She asked, "Do you think playing board games as kids affected the fact that you like playing board games now?" Yes, in the fact that I enjoyed it as a child, and so when new games came out, as an adult, I was like, "Hey, this is like that childhood memory." And it just made it that much better because the quality of game and the idea of the game is so much better now. But yeah, I don't know if I would have been so quick to latch on had I not had the history with board games. Even though they were simple and minute, I mean, Axis and Allies was kind of string, but that was like the one game. And that was also because like my dad and my uncles and stuff played it. Yeah, I think that's a very good question.
Yeah, I think since I played CCGs and RPGs like when I was 11 until like now, probably like definitely makes it a lot easier for me to have gotten into and really enjoyed gaming. But I don't think that has to be the case. There's plenty of people that like never have played games that have really enjoyed gaming as well.
Yeah, I don't think for me that it really made that big of a difference, but I think that was just because when I was younger, I didn't exactly have like outlets for thinking. So like I literally like started world building because I was like that bored.
Gotcha.
And then so you put a game in front of somebody and it's like, hey, here's something with some strategy, you got to think about it. And you're like, hey, yeah, nice. And that's just kind of always been my jam. So
did you play a whole lot of video games just growing up through everything though, Matt?
Sort of. I didn't get. My family was actually a little slow on like tech adaptation because our first computer, I got it. I think I was in second or third grade maybe, and it had Windows 95 on it. There were like literally the only games were like Ski Free. There was like a Hover 3D game where you're like a hover car and you're trying to bump into people.
Yeah.
Ski Free, is that when you're trying to go down the hill and if you go down far enough that like
the abominable snowman comes out?
Yes,
that's awesome.
That game was awesome. Didn't you get your first Sega Genesis off of the old radio?
Yeah, dude, on the AM channels. I was like, Mom, no, I don't care if I'm late for school. Let's go get this thing from this guy in his trunk. Let's do it.
Freaking Facebook like group sales were popular.
Back before the internet was like a really big thing.
Matt was the pioneer. Matt and his family pioneered meet people at old grocery stores to pick up games. Love it.
That's awesome. We used to have a like Windows, what was it, like 3.1 or something computer, like way back in the day. And I don't remember, but we had like Castle of the Winds on it, which is like a really, really old like shareware roguelike game that I played the crap out of, like dungeon crawl, like leveling up your character. And that was before it was even like Windows Vista or anything like that, which was like ridiculously old school.
That was the thing about my computer. We had that Windows 95 computer all the way until I was in high school.
We had Windows 95 like for a long time.
And then once I was in high school, we got like a compact laptop, and we still had dial-up, and it was absolutely miserable for me to do anything on a computer.
Dude, can you just think about using dial-up internet? Like, I just remember just sitting there waiting for pictures to load. Like,
man.
Yeah. It's not good.
I remember, so when I wasn't even dating my wife at the time, but she had a boyfriend before me, and his family still had dial-up, right? And he got jealous that I was talking to who is now my wife. And so this one night, me and wife, it was awesome. We had like a 4.5, 5 hour long conversation, but like every 20 minutes or so, her ex would try to call in, and I would be a real jerk. They had dial-up, and if you were to call in after they called in, it would mess up the call. And then if like his mom got on the call, it would completely cut him off. And so she'd be like, "Hey, let me put you on hold. I'm gonna hang up with this guy real quick," because he was just like, he was hurt, he was jealous. The new hot guy, the wood scented cologne was coming in, and so I would, instead of waiting, I would hang up and call back in. And while it was still in the transfer process, it would mess up his phone. And I remember one time I got to hear him. He was like, "Have him quit calling. Like, this is ridiculous. He's being so mean." The days of dial-up internet were amazing. And then that same night, he got mad at his mom because she got on the internet, and he was like, "Mom, I'm trying to talk to Marlo."
Man, this whole like
old life is
story of like how Rob used to troll his wife's ex-boyfriend is pretty intriguing, actually.
Man,
he trolled his way into her heart,
bro. Once she got me, she never went back to him. And that night we made fun of him. We laughed. We were like, I was like, "You can't date a guy that's got dial-up internet still." I was like, "Come on, man. You can't do that." Like,
man. It's the 20th century. Go with the times.
Like, "Girl, you get with me. I don't have dial-up. I'll take care of you. I got you." And back then it was just like, you'll be online in 3 minutes. 3 minutes used to be hot fire back in the day. Dial-up would take you forever. You can go start dial-up, cook dinner, come back, and then it's ready. Man.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I remember my first computer also had this other thing that was like, it came with the old school arcade pack, so it had like Galaga and Dig Dug and like Centipede and stuff. Dude, that was like the best thing. That was
times.
I think that was the entire reason my dad bought that computer, was just for those games. I don't think we did anything else on it. I mean, I played Math Blaster.
Dude, Math Blaster.
Dude, Math Blaster was great.
That was old school. I used to play... My grandpa had a computer that used the big, like, I guess they're called hard disks or whatever, but they're the ones that are actually floppy. They're, like, giant.
Yeah.
And he had, like, King's Quest on there and, like, pinball. And the pinball was literally just all, like characters. It wasn't, like, actual, like, real graphics. It's, like, it was just dashes and dots and things like that. And, and, like...
that ASCII pictures.
Yeah, and, like, it would be, like... just like different things. When you hit the buttons, the flippers would go, but it would just change the characters or whatever. So just really, really old school stuff. But yeah, old computer games. See, I've always been a gamer, basically. as far as I can remember, playing old school games.
See, my old school games were similar. I played RTS games. You guys ever play Command and Conquer?
No, I played
Red Alert,
Age of Empires.
Yeah, Age of Empires and stuff like that. Like I remember when my dad worked at the military base, they had all the computers hooked up, so I'd play against like other soldiers and stuff like that. And we'd play games together. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I guess we can go ahead and close this thing out. But yeah, everybody make sure to let us know what your first games were, as we've talked about ours here. But we stream these Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. at youtube.com/Epic Gaming Night /live if you want to watch it live, or just Epic Gaming Night to watch all of our previous videos if you want to see our faces and what we look like when we're yelling at stuff. And also make sure to hit us up on...
We're good-looking people.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's heard of the handsomeness of Rob. It just doesn't stop. Also,
and
make sure
I love how Mark gets on right now, and we're about to hang up.
Every week.
Man, speaking of which, shout out to Mark, because a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about like board game packaging and stuff, he like actually put in the chat like a link to some cajon bags. And nice. I was like, oh, cool. These things are like super cheap. So I bought a couple. Man, these things were great.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm excited.
I remember talking about the cajon bags.
Yeah.
So. Also, we're going to be at Mega MooseCon coming up in a few weeks.
Next weekend.
So, are you going to come with us, Matt?
Oh, God, it is next weekend. Yeah, I guess. What do I... Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't have anything planned.
Yes.
Well, I know I'm just going to be there Saturday, but I plan on like leaving early so I can be there as long as possible.
Awesome. Well, if anybody is in the North Carolina, South Carolina area, make sure to check out Mega MooseCon. We will be there the 5th. Make sure to check us out there. And Rob might be there. We're not sure if we're going to be able to see who he is.
Mark, if I go to Mega MooseCon this year and you do not have a sign up saying I'm not allowed in the building, I'm going to burn the place down. We talked about this like a month or so ago, where you said that like you were going to put up a sign like Rob's not allowed, or have you seen this person type of a thing. If a sign like that is not up, Mark Kale, gonna burn it down. And I'm gonna first start with your crazy escape room that I hope is improved. I'm gonna burn that down first, and then I'm gonna burn everything else down. So I'm excited for Mega MooseCon. It's a lot of fun. It is not. If you go to Mega MooseCon, quick shout out to them. It will not feel like a second year con. It feels like it's well put together. I mean, even last year was its first year, and it felt like these guys have been doing it for a long time. It's a lot of fun. It's a good con. It's in a good space, big area, and the food truck is great.
Awesome. Well, make sure to hit us up on Twitter and Instagram. We're always talking about things we're doing and posting the different things going on there. Make sure to check out our reviews up on the Dice Tower. Last week we had a review for Raxon, the game that somebody may have hung up on us last week when we were trying to talk about.
Can we I know you and I talked about this, Roy. Can I say this real quick?
Yeah, you can throw it out there.
Next week, I got a Raxon thing from the people at Plaid Hat, even though they can't talk about it. And so I was going to do it this week. I'll do it next week. I forgot. I apologize. Next week, if you would like to get one of my 3 invites, I'm saving it for people that listen on the live chat.
Actually, hang on.
Why
don't you send me one, and then we'll have 5 invites to give out.
All right, I'll send you one.
Yeah.
Deal. August 1st, everybody. I will send you one, Matt, before, like here in the next, hopefully tonight, if not tonight, here in the next day or two.
Okay.
Next week, August 1st, that's a Tuesday, we will have invites to hand out for everybody that is listening to the show. I'm only doing it, though, for chat personnel. So if you're listening to the podcast, you downloaded it, and you don't typically get in chat, but you want to try to get one, pop on the show next Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. Get on. I'm going to come up with some crazy thing that I'm going to want you to say or do in the chat. And if I feel that you've done a good job, you will get it. But, yeah, super excited for that. Sorry, nice. Roy.
Also, if you want to check out what the game plays like, you can check out the review that I did up there. I also did a review with Mark Streed about Tiny Epic Quest that's up on the Dice Tower, and me and my wife did a review of Shoppin' Time, which just went up today, which is the app game coming from Daryl Andrews, like a price guessing game. It's a super fun little lightweight family game. So make sure to check those reviews out. And if you want to see more about mine and Rob's Rune Wars game, make sure to check out our battle report on Tuesday. And always check out Favorite Game Friday over there on the Dice Tower. And we also want to thank all of our amazing patrons for helping us out. We're definitely about to kick off our next giveaway for patrons, where they get to vote on the game they want us to review, and then we get that game in, review the game, and then we give it away to one of the patrons. And we're also going to set up another patron podcast episode where we have patrons come on and we talk to the patrons live on the show, and they can ask us questions, we can ask them questions, we just hang out and chill and chat. So patron hangout podcast coming up as well soon. So thanks so much to all the amazing patrons. If you want to help support the show, all the funds go to help keeping Epic Gaming Night going and helping us hopefully to continue to upgrade the show. So make sure to check out patreon.com/Epic Gaming Night if you want to help us out there. But yeah, so we've been doing this for a while, so thanks so much everybody who has come out for the show, and it is totally been a blast, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Peace. You guys are amazing.
You guys are amazing.
I'll take up the slack and start talking about awkward stuff, but I don't really know what awkward stuff to talk about. So I guess anybody have a thing for like goat's bladders? They're actually very good for like storing water and stuff. If you know ever enter survival pickle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that like a Viking thing?
Typically, I'd probably assume they would go with deer, mostly because they have a larger storage capacity for water. I'm just spouting out words.
Nice. That's what you need on your voyage when you're playing the game.
Shades of them, 1 ND. Right?
Yes. There should be 3 numbers in it, but yeah.
We're still live. Don't tell everybody, Matt's.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
At Hotmail.
At Hotmail.
The website everyone uses.
Oh, man. Hulk Hogan mullet. Oh. So,
all right,
I got an after podcast story for all of our awesome chat people in after podcast. So I went for a job interview today. And I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, Rob. But
I did not. I haven't gotten on Twitter all day.
The craziest thing happened. So I'm literally like with the HR, talking to him, showing him all my paperwork and all the things I filled out. And one of the other employees, this lady comes up and is all like, "Hey, are you Roy? My friend is really into like tabletop games and board games, and like he says he met you at a convention and like knows you, and like this is like mid like talking to the HR and like doing all this stuff. He's like, yeah, he like really like loves your stuff, and like he wants to like try to like hook up and like maybe do gaming, and like he has a game that he's working on and things like that." And I'm like, Is this happening right now? Is this really happening right now while I'm doing this thing? But yeah, so I got stopped in the middle of an interview by somebody talking to me about my board game media stuff.
That's awesome. Hey, Matt, check your email real quick. Did you get it?
Literally insane. How much Epic Gaming Night is leaking into the actual real world.
Matt, have you seen it? Did you see it?
Not yet.
I'm sure
it should be coming soon.
Okay.
But I did send it because it now tells me I only have 2 recruitments remaining.
Oh, there it is.
Nice. Well, thanks everybody in the chat. Hey, Darth Grader actually listened to my story and said it was awesome. Thanks, Darth Grader. You're the best.
Darth Grader is amazing.
Yeah.
He is amazing.
This happened for real. I was like, what? What is going on? And
Adam, listen, Adam, if you are listening, just because we are madly in love does not disqualify you from getting the game. So I will judge whatever I come up with, and you can be a part of it as well if you like.
Exactly, Adam. That's exactly where I was. So, bad good times.
Yo, strip club. Ain't nobody want to pay for that.
I'm pretty sure my wife would immediately murder me.
My wife would be like, "Somebody take him. I'm tired of this." His internet was only good for so long.
Nobody has dial-up anymore.
No, I don't. I didn't have dial-up then. That was the thing. He had dial-up.
Oh yeah, the rest of the interview went great. So, I mean,
I have a wood smoke surprise at Mega MooseCon, bro. If it's like a wood smoked meat, I'd eat it. I tell you that much, man. If you had like a wood smoked meat or something. Hey, Mark, because we're still on here. What time are you guys opening on Saturday? Like, is it doors open at 9?
We're just gonna show up at Mark's house.
I'm not going to Mark's house. That dude's crazy. Have you ever seen some of the stuff he types in here? Dude is crazy sometimes, man.
Whatever Adam types in chat, dear Lord.
Now, Adam's funny, but Mark's one of those people where you laugh. You laugh at Mark's stuff out of fear for safety. Right? Adam's like funny, but Mark is one of those people. It's just like, yeah, Mark, that's really great, man. Yeah. Oh, they open at 8 a.m. Okay, cool. Because I may try to leave like around 7 to try to get there early, since I'm gonna only be there Saturday. I make a full day because it's about an hour and a half drive. I think it's an hour and a half drive. It's like right on the border.
Awesome, guys.
Man. Sweet. Good stuff.
I guess we'll shut this thing down. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, everybody. You guys are all fantastic.